The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Eric Cofield with TopBuilder Solutions, and we have Dave Knowles on the call as well. We're going to start here in just a minute or two. We've got about half the attendees that we expect, so thank you very much for being on time, and I'll just be right back, and we'll start here in just 1 minute. Thanks so much.
Good job.
Okay, good morning again, everyone. It's just right at the top of the hour, so thank you very much for joining us. This is Eric Cofield with TopBuilder Solutions. Just wanted to go over a couple of logistics, and then we will jump right into the webinar. Everyone is muted, so we don't have to worry about someone's radio in the background or something like that. However, we encourage you to communicate with us throughout the presentation. You will see on the right side of your screen a chat box or a chat widget in the control panel, and all you have to do is click that open and type a question, and then I will field those as best I can going through the webinar. You can choose to send that just to me or to everyone. It's up to you. Also, we will be recording this webinar here in a minute, so that if you want a copy of that recording, we're more than happy to send it to you. We will also send you the slide set, of course. Just let us know. And then there is a handout. You should see in the control panel on the right that there's a handout. You can download that now or at any time. We have a couple of poll questions because we really very much appreciate you being on the call with us today, and we'd like to get your information. Those are sort of anonymous, so I won't know who said what. I'll just know the general answer. So with that, let me say thank you again, and I'd like to introduce you to Dave Knowles.
Yeah,
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. Dave Knowles is the founder and CEO of TopBuilder Solutions. TopBuilder Solutions was started in 2008. I've known Dave ever since then, actually. And today we have several hundred company customers in both residential construction and commercial construction, with thousands of users across the United States and into Canada. Dave was the global CRM manager for HP. He worked for Arthur Andersen for that. He and I both have experience as Salesforce consultants. So there's a lot of depth on the bench, as it were. And with that, I think you're going to find the presentation interesting, especially as you think about how you want to leverage it in the business that you do. So Dave, thanks very much. Take it away.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so I appreciate the introduction, and I appreciate everybody joining today, and certainly appreciate Accordant setting up this webinar. And they're a great partner, and we enjoy working with them, and it's good to be with you guys. So what we're going to do today, what we have planned, is we're going to give you just a tad of background. Eric has already covered some of that. However, we reviewed the attendee list, and there's quite a few of you on here, and we appreciate your attendance. But what we noticed is there's a lot of you that we didn't recognize. We didn't recognize your companies because we're new to working with Accordant, and we want to give you just a quickie background on us. And we'll just do that very briefly. Now, these slides are available in the handout, and we're going to email them to you. So you'll have the information. So I won't read it all to you. It's there for your reference later. After that, what I'll do is I'm going to go over some objectives that we have for you in the webinar. The way we like to do our webinars is we like to keep them educational, okay, and talk about what we want to accomplish for you. This is obviously not for us, it's for you. And so we've got an overall objective for the webinar, which you saw in the invitation, but then we have individual goals that we want to accomplish, and we'll go through each one at a time. With each goal, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to discuss best practices for accomplishing that goal at your company. And there's three of them, three main ones. And again, we're going to try to help you understand what you need to do to achieve those goals. And then what we'll do is we'll do a little demonstration after each goal, and we'll show you in the software how you can accomplish those things. We won't spend a lot of time in the software. We'll give you kind of an overview and show you a few things, but you should get a pretty good idea of how you'll be able to accomplish these goals. Now, we're going to have more webinars, and we'll drill down on some of these things in more depth, but this is the high level covering the main topics, and so stay tuned for more webinars. We're definitely going to leave a little time for questions and answers. As Eric said, if you have a question during the webinar, just type it in the chat box and he'll get it, and he'll interrupt me at the right time, and we'll try to get your question answered. And then, of course, there'll be a slide in here on how to get more information. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so real quick, for those of you who don't know us, we have been around a while. The company has started in 2008, and we only focus on sales and marketing solutions for commercial construction or for the construction industry, which is good because you have an industry-specific company that's focusing on you and your needs. We only focus on sales and marketing, which is CRM, and so we're very specialized in what we do. And any enhancements that we do in the future to our software, our services are targeted towards sales and marketing for construction. So you can be rest assured that if you're working with us, that's what our focus will be, and we'll continue to grow that focus. We have lots of clients all over the U.S. We cover all the lower 48 states. We have lots of builders in Canada, many companies of many types, general contractors, subcontractors, and residential builders like custom home builders and spec builders, and remodelers. And as Eric said, we've been doing this a long time. So Eric and I both have been doing this for over 30 years each. And so we've been around the block a few times. Now, we're not going to claim that we're perfect, and we would never say that. We're always trying to get better, but at least we have some experience behind us. Okay, I think we're going to do a poll question real quick. Eric, you want to fire that one up?
Absolutely. So this question, we just would like to know what you currently use to track opportunities and bids, understanding that this audience is, business to business for sure. And so we'll be able to see the results here in just a second. It's still collecting the responses. Okay, so the results are 25% use Excel, 50% use some other CRM or some bid tracking system, and 25% use Outlook or Access Database, etc.
Okay, thanks, Eric. So that's actually a bit unusual, to be honest. It may be because we have the bid tracking and the lead management together in the same question. But I want to comment on this real quick, because when we do, as a company, we do about 7 to 10 demos a week. And we're always also talking to our existing customers, and we just got back from a trade show last week. And most of the companies that and when we do a demo, we always ask this question, what are you doing now to manage your leads and to follow up? And most of the time it's, well, nothing, or homegrown, or Excel, or, people do their own thing. We hear that a lot. And so one of the things that we're going to try to help you with today is to learn how to use an industry-specific CRM system to follow up and to manage your bids. And knowing that the industry as a whole, or in general, does not do very much of that, that's going to give you an advantage if you start doing it. So I hope that you think about that and consider it for your business. The industry is catching up fast. But again, if you're the one that's following up and submitting professional proposals, then you're a step ahead. Now I'm not sharing. Eric, you want to close the poll so that I can get my screen back? Okay, there you go. Perfect. All right. So enough talking. Let's get started. So here's the goals that we have for you today. We have a general goal, and the general goal is to understand why you would need an industry-specific CRM solution to help you close more deals and streamline your sales and proposal processes. Okay. There's a lot of systems out there. There's, Salesforce, of course. There's a lot of really good ones. But if they're not focusing on construction, well, you're missing out on some key features that you're going to need. And I'm going to show those to you. So what we'll do is we'll start with the main goal of maximizing your existing opportunities. So in other words, closing more deals with the opportunities that you already have. Okay, that's important to understand. So you're really not spending any more money. You're just doing a better job of the opportunities that you have. Then we'll jump into the second goal, which is streamlining and optimizing your sales and bidding processes so that you're more efficient, you don't miss deadlines, and you look better, and you follow up properly on your opportunities there. And then the third main goal is to get more quality opportunities using marketing, targeted marketing, and drip campaigns with the customer base and the information that you already have, without spending a whole lot more on sales and marketing. So that's going to help you save money and also reduce the mistakes that you make submitting proposals, and mistakes also in following up at the wrong time or missing deadlines. We hear that from our customers as well. So we have alerts and reminders and all kinds of things for bid due dates going down to the hour or the minute, not just the day, but exactly when is that bid due. And then also there's a big deal around losing data. We talk to a lot of customers who let their salespeople kind of do their own thing, but then when they leave, guess what? They leave with their customer information, all the bids that they're working on, all the opportunities they're working on, their database of customers and prospects. It was awful for some of the folks that we talked to, and so then they get CRM. So we'll talk about all these things, okay? So real quickly, goal number one, maximizing the existing opportunities or increasing the closure rates for the opportunities that you have. So how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, we're going to get organized, and we're going to define the life cycle of a lead or a job, and where does it go in the life cycle of a lead, from a brand new opportunity or potential opportunity all the way through to the day the job is done, or you lose the sale. And along the way, what we're going to do is we're going to decide, and we have examples of this, by the way, how do we want to follow up? Do we want reminders and alerts along the way? Are we going to follow up with automated emails, thank you emails, alerts and reminders that go out to estimators or project managers to make sure nothing falls through the cracks? We'll be able to delegate some of those tasks if need be. So in other words, if you have somebody in charge of collecting all the documents to prepare quotes, or maybe even send a handwritten thank you letter after the job is done, or to follow up on a lost deal, you can delegate tasks out on those plans. One of the things that we talk to our customers about is automating where it makes sense. So in other words, the low dollar jobs, or the jobs that aren't that big a deal, but you don't want to ignore them, but then you don't want to spend a lot of time on them at the same time. You can automate more of those tasks and say, well, we'll send them email reminders and alerts and stuff like that, and hopefully we'll get the deal without chasing it or going on site. And of course, alerts and reminders are in there, a calendar and reports to understand what's going on, who's working on what, when is it due, who is the customer, what's falling through the cracks. and then of course reporting and analytics to kind of go back and make sure that we're doing the right thing. We're winning jobs, trying to find problems when we're not winning certain jobs, or we're not being awarded certain jobs for certain job types or from certain customers. We've gone through this with many customers, and they found gaps where they have multiple divisions or multiple locations, and they're doing a lot of work with a customer at a certain location, but they found gaps. They're not doing that work in another location, and they spotted that gap, sent a salesperson out on it, and now they've got more business without really doing a lot more marketing or spending a lot of money and time. So that's how we can really help you close more deals with the opportunities that you already have, okay, which everybody wants. I want that. So here's what we're going to do real quick. We'll show you an example of how you might break down your processes or your sales and bidding process. So you have your main 3 phases. You have your lead and your opportunity phase. You have your bidding and your proposal phase, and then of course you have your construction phase. And of course we hope you go all the way through those phases, and you complete the job, and then everything gets fed back to a new opportunity, because after a job is completed, there might be follow-up work, there might be a warranty contract or a service contract that hangs off the end of that. But if you lose the job or you don't get invited to bid on the job, you want to loop back as well and say, hey, what happened here? Why didn't we get it? And maybe, remember us for the next time. So having these phases and statuses or steps within each phase is very important for proper follow-up, professional follow-up, and timely follow-up, and so that you don't miss any opportunities. Now, every phase has a status, and there's a plan attached to every phase. So I should say status has a plan. So for instance, when you get a new bid invitation or RFQ, you've got a plan to follow up on that. You notify the estimators. Here's a checklist of items that can be attached to that task that says, okay, we're going to go out on this is a new construction on-site job where we got to go out and take measurements and prepare a quote. And then you move them into preparing bid status, or you move them into bid submitted status. And then you have a new plan that says, okay, an email automatically goes to the customer. It says, thank you for your opportunity. Your bid's in your inbox, and that bid will come from the system. And then it'll follow up with maybe the next day to check on that person, and then also an alert to the person to say, hey, that pricing's about to expire. Or if the expected decision date, when we call that expected contract date, you also want to send out an alert, just so you don't miss out. And if you're properly following up and you're doing it in a professional way, you're doing a great job, and your sales will increase. Now, taking this all the way to the end where you have job completed, you still want to follow up on that, because that becomes a new opportunity. And it's going to depend on the type of job, of course. I mean, it's a quick work order, maybe not. But new construction, you want to go out there and get the next phase of the project, or the next new construction job, or the warranty contract or service contract. So having this machine, we call it, is great to help you keep things going and keep your pipeline full, but also following up properly. Okay, so that's it. Now we have plans and workflow, and I'm not going to go over all this to you, but here's an example of a real workflow that we have for a customer. We can help you with all those things, but we'll get into those details in one of the more in-depth webinars that we do. Okay, so what I'm going to do real quickly, let me share my. I'm going to share the actual software. Now we are demonstrating this in TopBuilder, of course, but these principles that we're talking about today can be applied to any CRM system, as long as the CRM system is for construction and supports these kind of features. That's the only thing. So, like I said, the principles that we're discussing today can apply anywhere, no matter what tool you're using. But we're going to show you this in our tool, and hopefully it makes sense. All right, so what we're going to do is we logged in, we've got our dashboard here, and on our dashboard, as a project manager or as an estimator or as the owner of the company, you can change the dashboard to see what you want to see, but you have definitely the ability to go in and see all the opportunities that you're looking at. You can see the, oh, you know what? The pop-ups aren't showing on.
Hey, Dave, this is, someone has asked if we could make that screen bigger.
Yeah.
So obviously, yeah.
I will. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think this is weird, but on the webinar, the pop-ups aren't showing up. So let me talk you through it just a little bit. I'm sorry for that. So on these little buttons here, you can see history and next steps. I'll just say that. And then you have all your tasks. You have calendar appointments. I hope everybody can see this now. You can set it up to see where things are in the pipeline and things like that. Okay, so we'll go into one of these opportunities, and you may have gotten an alert in your calendar. You may have gotten an alert on your email, or you may have gotten an alert on your on a text message to say, hey, I got a new lead, or I've got something that you know, as an estimator, I've got to work on. You can click on a link on that alert, and it will take you right into one of these opportunities. Okay, so let's assume I'm an estimator. I can see all the information about this job. I can see the details of the job. If any proposals have already been prepared, let's say I'm Ryan and I'm the primary estimator. I can see the next steps. I can see the history. I can see notes. I can see any documents that we've received to say, hey, you know, they submitted an RFQ, and here's the RFQ. I can see the specifications, so that they sent specifications. I can see that. I can see job history for the customer. And by the way, if you're on Sage 100, or if you're using Sage, we're going to integrate this with the job history in Sage for the customer, so you can go in and see all the active jobs and completed jobs and things like that for that customer and see what's going on, and also see their financial history. And if you're using Sage Estimator or another estimating tool, we'll be able to interface that and bring that data in here as well. Okay?
Hey, Dave, I have a question from the audience here.
Okay.
Actually, two questions. I'll read both questions, and then you can respond as you like. How does the accounting interface work and the data flow in? And then the second question is, do emails related to each project automatically go into this system, or do they need to be saved to this program? Okay,
two questions there. I'll answer them real quickly. We have a slide in your handout that talks about the interface. I'll show it to you in 1 second after I switch off the software. But it's actually quite a long answer, okay? But in summary, it's going to send your awarded job. So if I take this job and I award it, what's going to happen is we'll send the information over to Sage, and it creates that job in Sage. Now, if Sage has Commodore Builders in there already for you, it will attach that job to Commodore Builders in Sage. If Commodore Builders does not exist in Sage, it will create Commodore Builders, it'll create the contact, and then add the job. And there's rules around creating job numbers and things like that. It's a lot of detail, but we can handle all that. And then when the status gets updated within Sage, we'll update the status in TopBuilder. And the cool thing about that is, and here, let me do this because this is kind of part of the demo anyways. I have a follow-up plan in place right now after the job was awarded. And if Sage comes along and says, okay, the job is completed, okay, you're going to see, boom, right there. I hope you saw that, but I got a new follow-up plan. And that automatically gets added when the status gets changed. So in other words, as you're moving them through the process, or the sales cycle, or the bidding cycle, you're changing the status and you're getting new plans. However, those statuses can be updated by the interfaces as well, like the job has started, as an example, the job has stopped or construction has stopped, which is different than job complete. So when construction stops, you may want a follow-up plan to go out to the job and do cleanup. I don't know, but you also might want a job complete, which means you've collected all the money in Sage, and then you get a new plan. So there's other things with the Sage interface, with keeping your customers and your contacts and your jobs in sync with Sage, but that is in summary how the Sage interface works. Okay. Now related
Dave,
to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. You just used the word sync, which is a perfect segue to the other question about emails related to the project automatically going into the system.
Right. So in the system, you can email, and I'm going to get into email marketing in a second, and this is going to tell me it's a bad email address, but I can email right out of the system in many ways. I can just click on it and send them an email. I'm sorry, let me put a good email address in there. So let's say I want to email them right out from the system, and obviously that gets captured, okay? But let's also say I sent out an email blast or a drip campaign, or I emailed out a proposal. All that automatically captures the history in the system in TopBuilder. However, you can email from Outlook back and forth and have the history get captured in the system right here. And when you click on this little button, and if you can't read that, that says show email conversation. In other words, the email sent and the emails received. The emails coming from Outlook will be automatically captured in the history for that customer. And the system's pretty smart. If it's a contact, obviously it adds the history to the contact, but it says if that contact belongs to an account or a customer, it'll add the history to that account as well. If it's a part of a job, and it's an active job typically, you'll add the history to the job or the lead as well. So we can show that to you, but we do support that, and we call that, what we call that is email integration, if you ever see it on our website or something. So I hope that helps. And by the way, I like to tell real stories when I do these webinars. I really don't email directly out of the systems. I actually did an email campaign this morning at 7 o'clock this morning, but I typically email from Outlook to individuals, and what I do is I just put a little capture history email address in there, and I always get my history in TopBuilder when I go look for it. And then when they reply, it gets added as well, and so on and so forth. So it works very well. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you saw how the follow-up plans change as you change the status. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say bid submitted. All right, and you're going to see real quickly, since I changed the status, kind of messed up my demo here a little bit, but let me do this. Let me delete all the open tasks real quick. I'll move them out of bid submitted. And then let's say hypothetically, because this was part of my demo here, I submitted the bid, and that could be I push the button to send the bid if I wanted to. You see that I have a new plan. And one of the emails that goes out is, hey, thanks for the opportunity to bid on this job. All right. So that's super cool. And we internally within TopBuilder, we rely on it as well. When we submit a proposal, we have a follow-up plan. When we get a signed contract, we have a follow-up plan. When we complete their setup, we get a follow-up plan. It's the same as your jobs, okay? So I hope you can appreciate what I just showed you on the follow-up and the tracking. We're going to have more webinars on this and go into a little bit more depth, but I just wanted to make sure I covered the high level and taught you how to properly follow up on these jobs and these opportunities, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to the dashboard real quick. Okay, and by the way, GoToWebinar does slow things down just a tad, but this is the live system. You know, we're not any closer to the servers than you guys are, so I wanted you to see how well the software performs in a live environment, even over GoToWebinar, which does slow everything down. All right, so I'm going to switch back to the presentation, okay? And I'm going to go into poll question 2 real quick, and let's make this one quick.
Okay, we have that question up on the screen, and it is collecting responses. A few of you have not voted yet. So I'm going to, okay, so let me close this and then share the results. Most of the time, multiple bids for the same job.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's 50% yes most of the time, 25% yes some of the time, and 25% was never. Now that's unusual.
Well, that's potentially for a general contractor maybe, or somebody that doesn't submit bids. But in our audience, 75% of the time, you're submitting bids. Approximately 75%, you're submitting multiple bids for the same job. Okay, so this goes into our second objective for you, and that is streamlining and optimizing the bidding and the proposal process. Like I said, we talked to a lot of builders, and their world is of course around the job. It lives around the job, but the salesperson and the estimators, their world is around that bid. And it's all about getting the bid, getting it out on time, making sure it's accurate, making sure it's professional, and also profitable, of course. So what we're going to do to help you with that is suggest the following. First of all, get a tool that manages multiple bids for the same job. And it's not just a bunch of bids, it's managing the general contractors that you may be submitting the bids to, who's working on each one of those bids. It's when each one are due, because one general contractor may say your bid is due on noon on Friday, and the other one may say it's due at 5 o'clock on Friday. But making sure it's all tracked together. It's also very important to know if you lose one of those. So let's say the general contractor didn't make it to the short list, as an example. It doesn't mean you lost the job, okay? It meant the general contractor didn't get the job. And same thing if you're awarded the job. If you're awarded one of those jobs, well, it doesn't mean you lost the other ones. It just means it was awarded to you from a different general contractor. And that's very important, so that your forecasting, your reporting, your tracking is all makes sense as it goes to that one job. So when you close out those jobs and say, hey, it was awarded by this general contractor, the other jobs or the other bids that you're working on for that same job, they get closed out and they don't show up on a report as a lost sale. Or it doesn't affect your closure rates for that project manager or that estimator. And I get real excited about this because it's so cool, because you can go back and then you can do reports for your customers and say, hey, look, I want to see who's giving me the most work or not, which estimators are winning the most jobs or not, which job types am I winning the most, not by just the number of jobs, but also by the dollar amount. And then additionally, I may want to break that down by division if you have multiple divisions. So your reporting needs to reflect all this, and that's what we're recommending. So a part of this is also knowing who's working on what. What bid invitations do I have out there? When are they due? How big are they? Who's the customer? And who's working on it? Also have alerts for the estimators and the project managers when things are due. Now, also a big part of this is being able to have the right documents, the most current documents, organized in a way where you can, drag and drop them and add them to a proposal and build a proposal. You might have a cover letter, and the cover letter, where's my current cover letter? Well, if you store that in the system and it's always available, the most current one, then you can add it to your proposal. You can add the actual proposal itself and, additional documents. You may want, a section, a reference section, insurance requirements, safety records, whatever they've asked for, you want them to be available, and basically add them to your proposal, push a button, and it fills in all the blanks for you. And then you have a professional document that's ready to be emailed and tracked, okay? And that is cool. And we're talking about streamlining, and that's pretty streamlined. So let me go in and just show that to you. And that is probably the best way to get this point across. So I'm going to go back to the software and share that real quickly. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into manage bids and proposals. So let's say you're working on an opportunity, and that opportunity is just a potential opportunity. And they finally say, okay, here's an RFQ or a bid invitation, if you will. You can push a button and convert that opportunity into a bid opportunity. And so that will become a bid opportunity assigned to a job. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up a list of all my bid opportunities, and there's a big description behind one of them. But let's say what I want to do here is I've got this particular bid opportunity right here, the one I'm highlighting, and I have 6 bids out, or 6 bid invitations for that bid opportunity. And I can expand this out and see all of those. I can see who is the customer, when is that bid due, and I apologize for the date, so it's a demo, and we use this account for a lot of our demos, but when is it due, or when was the bid submitted, who is working on it, and how big is it? And then, you know, you might break it down by division, because you may have multiple divisions and you're submitting bids for multiple divisions for the same job. Okay, so I've got a bunch of bids that I've got out here, and I can drill down into one of those, okay, and I can see that I have this job, and this is the screen I showed you before, but it has all the details and the proposal information. But if I want to go in as well and say, let me see all the outstanding bids I have and who's working on them, I can also pull up a calendar. And this is across the board, or I could just specify a division in the system. And I can say, okay, here's all my active bids, and here's who's working on them. It will also show you where you have a bid opportunity and nobody's working on it. I don't have that in my example, but just pretend like Ashley Lauren here is no estimator assigned, and you'd see it there. So I can see all the bids that Ashley's working on, all the bids that Brooks is working on, all the bids that Dave's working on, and all the bids that Ryan's working on. And if it gets too busy, I can collapse it down and just see across the board. And then, of course, I can change my dates and look a ways out further, but this helps me find out who's working on what and when are they due. We have lots of calendars to see what things are going, and including jobs that were, you know, jobs actually started, or estimated job dates, start dates, estimated end dates, and things like that. Okay, so I have my calendar open, and we leave this open we leave this open in its own window so that you can go back to the software and look at it. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, look, I have a bunch of documents that I need to prepare my proposals now that I have this active bid opportunity. And so I have a content center, and in my content center I can organize my proposals in the content center. I can say, well, okay, is this the proposal I want? All right, let's see here. And I've got a Word editor that's available to edit the documents if I need to after they've been loaded. So I have my proposal. I can go in and edit that proposal document if I want to, or I can just upload a new copy of that proposal, you know, that I updated in Word on my hard drive. Okay, so I have this document here, and I can edit it just like I can in Word. Okay, but I can also put in what we call merge fields, and merge fields are these little fill-in-the-blank things, and what I'm doing right now is I'm showing you example data so that you can see what it looks like. But I can add merge fields, and merge fields automatically get populated from the database, okay, as you add them to the proposal. So if I'm doing a proposal for ABC company, it'll automatically add it to the proposal and I don't have to worry about it. And by the way, this also eliminates, of course it saves you time, but it also eliminates mistakes, okay? So, you know, typos and having to type in everything over and over again into a proposal document, well, you don't have to do that. Now, once this document is added to a proposal, you can edit it from there as well, but this provides a ton of standardization and convenience for you by storing documents in the Content Center, okay? Now, I can store Word documents, I can store images, I can store PDFs, I can store Excel documents, just plain text that I want to add to a proposal, or even graphical HTML, which I might want to add to an email that I send out. Okay, so obviously we're very excited about this stuff. I'm going to close the Content Center and I'm going to go back to my proposal. So I'm working on this proposal, okay, and I'm not going to go through the whole process with you right now. I'll just kind of talk through it because it takes a little bit of time. But let's say I've got this proposal and I built this proposal from 5 separate documents. Okay, so I have a cover letter that I'm going to put on that proposal. And this came right out of my Content Center and it fills in the blanks for me. Okay, and let me view the sample data. Okay, cool. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I like that. And now pretend like I just added the standard proposal document. And that it has a fill in the blank with it as well. Company name, so on and so forth. Okay, good. I'm happy about that. Now, let's say the customer said, I want the specs submitted. So I'm going to submit the specs with my proposal. I'm also going to submit a list of references that they asked for. Great. I got this right out of my Content Center where I have a list of references. Whoops, not resumes, references that I'm going to add. So pretend like I just added that right out of my Content Center. And if I'm in the Content Center, I'm going, oh, I'm not sure if that, oh yeah, that is the document I want. Cool. All right, close that out. Got that. And then at the very end, let's say, I added some Excel, by the way, data to this document. And that's not part of this webinar, but we have a webinar on that, on how to integrate with Excel. Obviously, we did a demo, last month, and we edited the proposal. But here's a document that we wanted to submit that talks about us as a company, little salesy stuff. Okay, so now that I've assembled all my documents and I can define what order I want them to be in, I'm going to view my proposal as a combined document, okay? It filled in all the blanks for me, the customer name, the job address, information out of Excel. I've got a total. And then it added all the documents together, filled in the customer name, like we said, filled in the customer name there. Boom, boom. The specs, okay, the reference sheet, all that is in here, which is really cool. Now, this is in our proposal builder, but I can also view that proposal as a PDF, okay? And as I view that as, I have pop-up blocker on. That's why you couldn't see the history. So I'm going to view that proposal as a PDF. Okay. And so what it's doing is it's generating a PDF for me right now. And there you go. I've got a beautiful proposal that I can print, save, email, whatever, right from there. So that's the proposal. Now I'm going to go ahead and close that. That's our bid calendar. Okay. Now, what I want to do now is, let's say I just want to email that proposal out. Well, bingo, I can push a button and I can email this to proposal. I can add other folks and this goes right out of my database, okay? And it attaches the proposal, obviously, to the email. And then what I have down here is I can get an alert when they open the email. I can get a text message when they open the email. And then I can automatically set the status to bid submitted. Okay, but I can also add documents to this as well if I want to add more documents, and it doesn't have to be part of the combined proposal. And then when I hit send, it's going to send the proposal, and I'm going to get alerts when they received it and opened it. Now, again, it's going to set the status to bid submitted, and what's going to happen then is I'm going to get a new follow-up plan, which is really cool. And that's the whole point of this webinar, is follow-up. Okay, so real quickly, Eric, we're going to have to go to the next poll question, and then we'll come back and wrap up.
Okay. This one is, if you currently use email marketing or some sort of newsletter to market your products and services. Still collecting the responses. Half of you have voted. Okay. There's the answers.
Okay, I can't see them.
Oh, it's yes, 100% of the time. 100% of the people said yes regularly. Do they use email marketing?
Wow. Okay, so we have never done a webinar. You guys are good. I have to give you guys a lot of credit, because everybody here is very professional and does a lot more than what we typically hear in terms of following up and bid tracking and email marketing. Well, that's cool. So you get the reasons behind this. So what I will do, let me share the presentation again. Okay, so I've got the presentation. Okay, so email marketing and marketing, there's a lot of best practices around this. I'm really going to cover just a portion of it in the webinar today, but we have a whole separate webinar on marketing to building owners and prospects and property managers. But one of the things that having email marketing as part of your CRM solution that's designed for construction is to be able to target your emails very narrowly. Okay, so we did a demo yesterday, and my potential customer said, I want to create an email campaign, and I want to target all the architects that we've ever worked with that actually gave us business. So you would go into and I'll show you this, but we went in there and we did it during the demo, and you can quickly go into our email marketing module and build a distribution list by company type, architect, and then status, customer. So 2 clicks of the mouse and they had a targeted email campaign. But it could be, you may be roofing, specialized roofing company, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and you want to target property managers or building owners so that they remember you when it's time for a new service contract or warranty contract or preventative maintenance agreement. We have a lot of security systems and fire alarm company, fire prevention system companies, and they want to get that preventative maintenance agreements, which is required under law, which is high margin, low risk business for them. And so they target building owners and property managers with their email campaigns once a month. And they get leads from this that they normally would not get because they're in front of these guys all the time. I talked to a roofing company yesterday, and he goes, man, when they switch property management companies or building owners, which happens a lot, they don't remember or don't even know who originally put in their roof. And so if we contact them on a regular basis, when it's time to fix something or for a new warranty contract and you have to maintain these roofs or the warranty goes bad, they remember this company and they call them. Okay, so you get more leads this way, and you get good leads this way, and it's the high dollar, low risk stuff. Now you might also target general contractors on a regular basis, but I think you guys get the idea. Another thing is the drip campaigns. A lot of times we call this keep in touch or KIT. So you'll target customers that maybe you haven't done business with in 6 months or whatever, and you want to just put them on a drip campaign and send them an email once a month or whatever, and just keep in touch, KIT. We do that a lot of times, and you can tag your customers with KIT, and then you can add them to an email campaign. I want to do a KIT campaign once a week. All right, so it's really, really good practice. It's one of those kind of things where you don't know what you don't know, but once you start doing something like this, and you start getting the opportunities, you'll know. And you'll know, I said, man, I wish I would have done this a long time ago, because we're getting a lot of leads. And by the way, we're not doing any additional marketing in terms of like spending dollars on marketing campaigns. It's pretty much free. Okay, so obviously if you lose a job or a job is completed, you want to follow up as well. And this is all best practices. And we're about to run out of time, so I'm going to go in here and show you this real quick. Okay. And
while you're doing that, we have, I guess it's a general question. What is involved in setting up TopBuilder Solutions?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So real quickly, what I will tell you on setting up, we have a slide on it. Tell you what, let me go back to the slide real quick. I think it's in here. All right, let's see here. Okay, in your handout on page 28, you have a setup process. This is we have set up so this is our follow-up plan. When you sign a contract with us, you have a follow-up plan. This is the follow-up plan that we do. And many of these tasks are delegated. So I get a task to set up the account. Your support manager calls you into a kickoff meeting to explain the process to you. We do the branding for your email. We load your data. We connect it to Sage or your interface that you have. There may be a bid estimating software that you use. We do an account review, and we train you. And we have unlimited training every day. It's part of being a customer, and we don't charge for it. So I recommend you look at this slide, and this will explain our setup process for you. Okay, real quick, going into the email campaign. So what I did here is I quickly clicked on the email marketing button. It has a list of email campaigns that I've ever sent. It tells me how many folks were on that email campaign. If I had an error, and an error is not like a bug, an error is I'm missing an email address, I have a bad email address, or I have a duplicate. So we won't send an email to the same email address twice for the same email campaign. You know, so it reports all that stuff back to you. You track open rates and click rates, and you all do email marketing, so I assume you use a MailChimp or a Constant Contact. Same thing here. But the great thing you have with having email marketing as part of CRM is you don't have to keep your database in sync, your contacts, your customers. We keep that in sync with Sage, by the way, or your bidding system, and then it's always available. The contacts are always available for your email campaigns. Now, the other beautiful thing about having this is being able to target your email based on your CRM data and also track all the history. So if I look at a contact in CRM, I will see every email they got, every email they opened, every email they clicked on, if it bounced back, if they opted out, all in the history, including the bids that I submitted. All that stuff is in one place, which is beautiful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to take an email right here, and I'm going to edit it. So step number 1, subject line. Step number 2, I'm going to pick a layout. Step number 3, this is the cool part where I'm going to target that email to my database. And you can, like I said, you can define exactly how you want that, or you could send it to everybody. So let me remove everybody that's on the list and say, all right, I want this to go to property managers. Okay, add them. Oh, and I also want this to go to building owners. Add them. I got my distribution list. Or architects. We talked about that before. And I can also tag things and use keywords to find them. Or I can add them individually. So I've got my targeted list. I build out my email campaign by just dropping some text and images in here. This probably works a little different if you use Constant Contact or MailChimp. We allow you to just easily drop in some images and some text and some links. And then we do all the branding and styling for you in your email template. So think of this as your company, links to your website, your social media pages. This will match your website, your fonts on your website, And then we'll even give you the ability to put a promotional section down at the bottom. Now, you don't have to have that. You can pick a different template or a different layout, and that does not have the promotional section on the bottom. And so you can see how fast that is and how easily I can put together an email campaign and then schedule it or send it now. And as I said, I sent one out this morning. I didn't get up at 7 o'clock this morning and send it. I scheduled it last night and it went out this 7 o'clock this morning. I checked it on my phone. Boom, it went out. And I'm tracking it. So that's email marketing. And of course, I showed you the drip campaigns as well. We have tons of reports and analytics. That's another webinar. It kind of ties all this together in a help center with all the videos, how-to guides, and a little button that says, how do I get help? And you can register for training. And training, like I said, is every day. It's live, no charge for training. Okay? So that is it. I'm going to wrap it up with any final questions.
Yeah, Dave, I have a question from a gentleman here. He says, when you refer to Sage, are you referring to Sage 100 Contractor?
Yeah, yes. So at the moment, let me explain the integration we have with Sage is being rolled out in phases. It's starting with Sage 100 Contractor, okay, and then it is gonna the next phase will be Sage 300, and then also Sage Estimator, if that makes sense. So yes, we're talking about 100 for now, but what we can do, and we met with Sage last week at the International Builder Show. Their booth was right next to ours, by the way, which was very convenient. But we met before the show for a very long time, and we talked about this. We have a roadmap and a plan for when the different components of the interface will be completed and rolled out, and we're happy to share that with you if you want to reach out to us. But yes, it's starting with Sage 100, but quickly rolling out the same features to 300 and Estimator as well. And I'm sorry we can't do it all at once, but it makes sense to do it in phases. Okay? So thank you, everybody, very, very much for attending. And thank you again for Accordant for setting this up. If you want to contact us, we have our contact information in the handouts on slide 17. Of course, you can contact your account manager at Accordant, and they can contact us. They know where to find us for sure. And we look forward to working with y'all. And also look for future webinars. We're going to have very specialized webinars on bid tracking, proposal builder, email marketing, and things like that. So thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.